What's going on, everybody? We're back for another Acceptable Casualties battle report. Today we have 400 points of Battlegroup going to be happening. The mission's going to be attack, counterattack. We got Soviets taking on the Germans on the Eastern Front late war. Back in a second to go over the lists and deployment. So here we have our 400 points of Soviets. Down here I have my forward HQ. I upgraded him to a T-34-76. I ended up bringing a Moto Strelkovy infantry platoon. Pretty standard, nothing special, except I did give them all anti-tank grenades. For their support choices, I brought a 45mm anti-tank gun. I ended up taking out of the tank section, I took a platoon of T-34-76s. Out of the specialist platoon, I ended up taking a KV-1E out of the atypical tank spot or atypical unit spot. I forgot what it's called, where you can take any vehicle from any book in Battlegroup and you can add the tank in. So, you know, they had a KV-1E kind of floating around, so they decided to throw them up on the front line and help support these guys. And then out of artillery, I brought two 122s for some artillery support. So this is what we're looking at right here for roughly 400 points of Soviets. We'll be back in a second to take a look at the Germans. So here's Vin's 400 points of Germans. Vin, what book were you using again?
Fall of the Reich.
Fall of the Reich book. All right. So Vin has his forward HQ in a half track. He ended up taking Volksgrenadier platoon here. No upgrades with them at all, except for he made them regulars for the extra points. For Vin's tank selection, he ended up taking 3 Stugs. For his recce, he has a sniper with a spotter.
Yeah.
Correct. And then over here, Vin also took from the forward HQ slot. He ended up taking the, what's it called again?
The forward signals unit?
Yeah, forward signals unit, and he upgraded them into a Panzer IV. That actually opened up Vin to get another artillery barrage. So Vin has 2 barrages inside of his list, which you have the Nebelwerfer one and then the railway gun, right?
Yeah, the railway gun, then the Nebelwerfer 150.
150, okay, so those are both time barrages. I have no idea when they're coming in. I just know that they're not going to be very kind if they do land and hit. So this is what we're looking at right here for Vin's 400 points. We'll be back in a second for deployment. Like I said, the mission is going to be attack, counter, attack. All right, so we are back for deployment. Vin won the roll-off. He ended up taking this table corner down here. His units will come in 20 inches on each side from the table edge over there. My table edge is over here. For attack, counterattack, all you do is start with recce on the table, and then starting turn 2, your units start to come on. As you can see, I have no recce. I just didn't bring any. I don't know what I was thinking. And then Vin brought his sniper. For this mission, if the other army has no recce, you can place yours anywhere, but Vin just kind of opted to keep his sniper over here, I think due to the open ground on that side. So starting turn 1, it's just recce units that move. I have no recce, so I'm going to have to pull a chit for my turn. And then starting turn 2, you guys are going to start seeing the units actually start coming in from those table corners. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 1 for the Germans. So we are back here for top of turn 1 for the Germans. Like I said, nobody's coming on this turn. Vin has just his sniper set up an ambush over here. I forgot to go over last turn too. Vin set an objective here on the railway, and then down here by the rail cars, provided by Creative Scenery. A little plug there for my boy Kim. Then for me over here, I ended up putting one on this hilltop over here, kind of like an observation post, and then down over there I put one on the roadway leading out of town. So that's what we're looking at for the objectives as well. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 1 for the Soviets. So we are back for top turn 2 for the Germans. For this turn, Vin ended up getting 5 reserve units on the table and 10 orders. So what Vin ended up bringing on was 2 of the Stugs. So you can see one here and one there. He both pushed, he just moved them up from this area over here for the one Stug, pushed them up to the rail line. The other one over there, Vin brought in over here and just moved up, and then took like the movement penalty over the railways, but it didn't really matter that much. So the Stugs ended up pushing up to the rail line for the other 3 units. Vin brought in 3 of the rifle teams, and they're kind of following up that Stug right there in support. So that's really all that happened here for turn 2 for the Germans as they start to make a push for that rail line and make their way into the village. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 2 for the Soviets. Hopefully I can get some units on the table and set up a defensive line. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn 2 for the Soviets. For this turn, I ended up getting 4 reserves, and I ended up getting like 9 orders or something like that. So a lot of wasted orders. So what I ended up doing was I brought in one of my 122s and placed them back here. These guys really aren't moving much on foot, and I didn't bring any Ziz trucks, so they're kind of just going to be stuck here on the back end. I also brought in my platoon command over here so I can have a spotter up on this hill. I ended up bringing him over there and just kind of pushed him up to this point here. Back on the road, I had the KV-1, brought him up and pushed him up to this point here to kind of give me a line of sight on that Stug right there, and then keep me out of line of sight of this Stug that's pushing up along the rail line right here. And then the last unit I was able to bring on was a rifle team, and I kind of just pushed them up into this hut right here, and they're kind of just holding it down on the back end right now. And they'll probably continue to push up as the turn goes on. So this is what we're looking at here for the bottom of turn 2. We'll be back in a second to check out the Germans and the top of turn 3. So we are back for top of turn 3 for the Germans. This got scary, and then that subsided fairly quickly. So Vin had those 2 time barrages for the 150mm Nebelwerfers and the railway gun. He ended up planting them in this field here and over there. Both of them were able to get the KV-1 in. Vin had, for all the dice, because they were pre-registered targets, 2 just missed completely. He had 3 that potentially could pin the KV-1, and he got 1 direct hit with the Nebelwerfers. All 3 of the pin attempts ended up failing, and then the Nebelwerfer for damage, he needed 9 on 2 dice to get a glancing hit, and he ended up rolling like a 7 or something like that, and I passed my pinning test. So no damage done on the KV-1 after the bombardment, but man, it was a little bit scary getting that guy in there. Then for the rest of the turn, Vin got 1 reserve in, and he brought in... What'd you take in? Oh yeah, Vin brought in his command Stug over here. So he just kind of wheeled him around to this position here. All the infantry moved up to the railway line right there, and the Stug that was here pushed his way up along the house right there at the crossroads, and then up over here, Vin took his other Stug, pushed him up along the house there, and fired 1 AP round out of the KV, but he failed to hit. He needed, I think, a 6, and he rolled a 5 or something like that. So that's what we're looking at here for the top of turn 3. We'll be back in a second for bottom 3 for the Soviets, and see if I can start getting some units on the table and mixing it up a little bit here with the Germans. So we'll be back in a second. So we are back for the bottom of turn 3. Pretty good turn here for the Soviets on this one. So I ended up getting 4 units in for my reserves, and I got 8 order dice. So what I ended up doing was I brought in my forward HQ and the T-34, and from that flank over there, I just pushed them 24 inches with my 2 orders to kind of get a play on this flank over here. Up over there, you see I brought in another T-34 who came in from that road. I had a really good roll to get through the fences right there, and then we just kind of pushed up to that area right there. I also brought in another one of my artillery guns, and then another rifle platoon. I'm sorry, I had 5 reserves. The 45mm I wasn't able to bring in because I kind of ran out of orders. So that's that rifle platoon that was there. I pushed them up to that point. I ended up doing a bombardment. I was able to spot with my platoon command team, dropped it down here. I ended up getting wild scattered all the way over to there. With my 2 dice, I rolled a 6 and a 3. I was able to actually blow up the sniper team. I got, like I said, the direct hit was a 6. I was able to do 2 wounds, and Vin failed both of his saves, so that they got blown off the table, but no shit because they're a sniper team. And then down here, I was able to get a pin result, but Vin ended up making the 4-up save because we're playing the railway as hard cover, so Vin's okay on that right there. The big thing for the turn was the big old KV-1. So I was able to fire 2 shots down. I went the first one HE to pin, the second one I went AP. So with the HE result, I was able to actually get a pin off and pin the unit down here. And then with the AP round on my second open fire order, I ended up hitting Vin because he fired at me, so it was an auto spot. I ended up hitting him with the AP round at the 20 to 30 range, and then for damage I needed to roll a 9 or above. I ended up rolling a double 1 and just immobilized his tank. So the Stug's immobilized, he's pinned. We'll see what happens. I got that T-34 coming up right over there, so maybe I'll just, you know, make work of this. in upcoming turns. So that's what we're looking at right here for the bottom of turn 3. We'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 for the Germans. So we are back here for top of turn 4. Risks were taken, and then some stuff paid off for Vin right now. So Vin ended up getting everybody on with the reserve rolls, and then with his orders, he was able to kind of get everybody into play. So down here, he had his forward HQ supported by a machine gun team. They pushed up along the back over here. In this position down here, Vin put one of these rifle teams in the ambush and then pushed up another to kind of help support that Stug over there. On this flank, Vin pushed a couple of the machine gun teams up into the woods, as well as platoon command, and then the machine gun teams are up around the other flank, and then the Panzer IV pushed up to the railway to kind of help assist that mobilized Stug over there. Down here, Vin had the Stug that was positioned over here, pushed him up to take a shot down there at my T-34, but he failed to connect on that. Over here, this Stug decided to gamble, went from over here, Vin moved up the road, fired a shot. He ended up getting a hit, but he failed to penetrate. But it ended up, would you roll like a 7 on an 8? I think he needed an 8 or something like that, and he rolled a 7. But I ended up failing my morale, so I ended up getting the KV pinned over there. And that's kind of what happened for the Germans on this turn. The end of the turn, Vin did pull its shit and got an airstrike when he was trying to unpin the Stug over there. So they are unpinned but immobilized, and Vin has a potential airstrike coming in next turn. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn or bottom of turn 4 for the Soviets. So we are back for the bottom of turn 4 for the Red Army, and things went pretty good for this turn. I'm not gonna lie, they went pretty good, and it all started off with these guys right here. So for reserves, I got only 2 units in. I ended up bringing in 2 T-34s. First one was this guy here. He was the platoon command for the T-34s. I moved him up 24 inches from that position there and kind of just shot him up to the gap over here. The other tank that I brought in was this T-34 here. I kept them on the roadway, so I moved them just kind of up to this crossroad with 2 movement orders and put them over here. With the command tank down here, he was previously here. I fired a shot at the Stug, missed, and then I did a move order afterwards. I did factor in the penalty, if any of you guys are wondering, for shooting and moving. So yeah, he moved up over here to kind of force the Stug to move next turn. Up over there, this T-34 was previously on that fence line. I ended up rolling a 6 I lost 6 inches of movement going through the fences up through the little fields over there, which is kind of unfortunate. But I was still able to hit the immobilized Stug there, and I actually punched through and blew him up. So pretty good move there for tank number 3 there, that T-34. For the rest of the moves over here, these guys right here, this was the first time I pulled off a close assault against the tank. Like I said, all my infantry for the motor Strelkovy had anti-tank grenades. So I pushed them along the back side of the house to avoid that ambush that Vin had set over here. He just didn't have the angle on it, and I got within 5 inches. I passed my motivation to charge in there, and then I ended up rolling a 5 on the table, which was a strength 6 on the side armor, and I ended up rolling pretty good, and I ended up popping the Stug, so I took that Stug out as well. For the rest of the movement this turn, I brought up a rifle platoon to kind of help support that KV. Like I said, he's pinned right now. And then back there, I brought up the 45 that was off the table before to kind of just get some AT fire support on this side of the table, because we do have that Panzer IV coming up on the flank over there. So that's everything that happened here for turn 4. Oh yeah, and I also dropped the bombardment here with the 2 122s. I ranged in here, scattered on top of these guys. They were the only ones that were in range. I was able to pin them, and then I also rolled a 6 on one of the damage dice, and I was able to peel 2 guys off of that squad, so they're down to 3 and pinned. So that's what we're looking at right now for bottom of turn 4. We'll be back in a second for top of turn 5 for the Germans. So we are at top of turn 5. Pretty good turn for Vin here. So Vin ended up rolling a 5+. He ended up getting the plane in. He took the Focke-Wulf he was able to pick. He rolled a 6 on the close air support table. He ended up taking the Focke-Wulf. Then he ended up rolling for 1 large bomb and 4 small bombs. To start it off, there was an infantry platoon here, but that happens later. Vin decided to drop 1 large bomb right there in the middle. He ended up getting a wild scatter, went back 17 inches over there, right next to the 45 mil, and then Vin rolled a 1. So nothing happened at all on the large bomb. Then Vin ended up rolling for his orders. He rolled snake eyes as well. So he just had 6 orders this turn, but the orders played out pretty well. Vin took the Stug down here, pushed up around, was able to get a hit there, and he blew up my forward HQ. I had to pull 2 chits for that one. That was kind of unfortunate right there. Vin also took one of his rifle teams here, pushed him into there. He moved up the half track around over here, and with all that machine gun fire, Vin was able to actually kill everybody inside this this platoon here. I was gonna do fall back, but I decided to kind of just stick with it and test my luck, and my luck wasn't up to par on that one. Also over here, Vin took the Panzer IV command tank. He had a couple shots that obscured T-34 back there, but nothing punched through. Nothing to hit on there, and I think that's all that really happened here. Vin also took the MG-34 machine gun team and pushed them up behind the building here as well. So that's all happened with Vin's 6 orders and the plane. When I lost this unit down here, I actually pulled an air attack chit as well, so I'll be coming back on the top of my turn, and hopefully I can return the favor. So I'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 5 for the Soviets. So we are back for bottom of turn 5. I ended up getting my last 2 rifle squads in on the table, and then I had enough of orders. I rolled like 13, with the officers on the table, so I was able to activate everybody. This turn went pretty good for the Reds this turn. So the guys that came in off reserves, that came in over there, I'm pushing them over the top of the hill over here. For bombardment, the 2 122s, the observer here, I was able to pass my comms test. I ranged in over here. It's scattered to on top of this building. Vin ended up passing 2 pinning checks for the infantry here and the one in the house. And then I actually was able to pin the open-topped half track down over here with the bombardment. For my tanks, the T-34 that's here at the crossroads, I just swung that turret around. I was able to hit the Stug here in the side armor, and I ended up blowing him up. T-34s, they've been pretty on point with the AP rounds this game. Pretty good stuff. With the other T-34 that was back there, I drove him up. We just dumped 10 machine gun rounds into the guys in this house. We inflicted 2 casualties, but Vin did not stay pinned. Back over here, there was that rifle squad that was behind the KV. We just kind of pushed them up and tucked them behind here, so they're going to get some cover for anything coming their way. Back there with the 45 mil, I just fired a couple HE rounds down here, long distance, to just see if I can pin the Panzer, and I ended up rolling a 6, and then Vin failed his cover save that he got from being on the railway, so we ended up actually pinning the Panzer here, which was huge. The T-34 over there, I just pushed up to the side of the building a little bit more because I needed the angle to get the shot down here, but I failed to hit with the AP round. And I think that's all that really happened here. Yeah, I failed my my airplane test. I rolled a 2 and I needed a 5, so nothing really worked out there. But we're going in the top of turn 6 here. Vin only has 1 AT asset left on the table. It's that Panzer IV, and they're pinned right now, so he's going to have to do something to get those guys back in it. Besides that, it's just infantry left on the table. So we'll be back in a second. Here's the Red Army ends up pushing up the table. We'll see if the Germans can make a counterattack here and try to hold the railway. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 6 for the Germans. This turn was a lot of kind of just positioning infantry units. Vin ended up pushing everybody up along the railway there. He didn't have any other big units to activate. Like I said, the Panzer IV was pinned. These guys were pinned. Vin did move the MG team that was here into the building there. That's all he did for his orders. I said everybody's on the table, so no reserves really left to roll. Vin ended up pulling a chit, and he was able to unpin everybody except for the guys up here on the table. So that's kind of what happened here for top of turn 6 for the Germans, trying to just getting everybody active so they can excuse me, so they can make a push for turn 7. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 6 for the Soviets. So we are back for bottom of turn 6 for the Soviets. This is a hot mess. So I had 8 orders on this one. What I ended up doing was, for my artillery bombardment that soaked up 3 orders, I dropped it here. I scattered 12 inches all the way into here. It was enough to not bail anyone. I got 4 pin attempts. Vin passed both saves in here. I failed to do anything to my tank as I was in the radius, and then these guys got pinned, but they already were pinned, so it didn't really make a difference at all. Over here with my orders, I take this infantry team that's there. I pushed them up 10 inches around the back of the hill to kind of make a play on this flank over here. The 45 mil in the back, fired 2 HE shots, and wouldn't you know, I was able to pin Vin again with a 6, and Vin failed his, his save that he needed. So yeah, they ended up getting pinned again, which was pretty nice. And then the T-34 there, I fired 2 AP rounds. I failed to observe one, and the second one I failed to hit. So wasted opportunity there. Then down here with this tank, I had machine gun fire. Attempted one time to open up over here, failed to observe this team. I fired another one of my open fire orders in here, failed to observe that team. There's nothing worse than failing to observe at point blank range. So that was blown opportunity right there. And then you're wondering why this T-34 got blown up here. Well, let me tell you why. We fired AP round over here, was able to blow up the half track. We killed everyone in the explosion in Vin's command team. Vin pulled 3 chits from this half track here, which was awesome. But of course, Vin pulls the mine strike. Vin places it right back on my platoon command tank, and Vin rolls a 6 on the damage table and fucking blows up my T-34. So I lost another tank to some shenanigans over here.
Sweet revenge.
Yeah, so yeah, sweet revenge. That's what I get for having no recce on the table and you guys just dropping minefields all over the place. I guess it's karma the way that worked out. So that's all that happened here for bottom of turn 6. We got some pinned units on both sides, but there's still enough stuff active to keep the action rolling. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 7 for the Germans. So we are back for top of turn 7 here for the Germans. I don't even know what to say. So not a lot really happened here, a lot of positioning. Vin ended up pushing up some machine gun teams over there. The platoon command is on this objective. Rifle team pushed down over here. Then Vin, with the MG34 team in here, fired down. Was able to pluck off 2 wounds on that rifle team there. I got 5 guys left between those 2 bases. And then the other team, Vin went for the just dead sprint across the across the road in front of the T-34 right there, and then just parked himself inside that building there with 3 guys left. Vin also pulled another chit, and what do you know? He got an aircraft chit. And he unpinned both of his units. He got a horseshoe up his ass when it comes to pulling chits today. It's ridiculous. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 7 for the Soviets. I'm going to have to do something here, man. I don't know. Vin got these infantry guys just kind of squirreling around all over the table. I got to start plucking some of these guys off of here. I'm going to start paying for it with losing objectives, it looks like. So we'll be back in a second. Bottom turn 7 for the Soviets. So we are back for bottom of turn 7 for the Soviets. This T-34 number 6 here, he's not going to be coming out to play again for a while. So we ended up getting 9 orders, I think, is what we got on the table. First off, I decided to drop another bombardment right over here. It's scattered this way 8 inches. It was enough to get 3 of Vin's infantry teams in the bubble, as well as my T-34. No direct hits, all pins. I failed to pin the tank, but I was able to pin the rifle team here, rifle team there, and then the guys in here. With the very next order, once again, 2 machine gun fire, open fire orders into these guys. Just wanted to kill them, get them off the table. Failed to observe twice again. So I'm 0 for my last 4 for machine gun fire with these guys. It's been pretty disappointing as far as that goes. Next up, I had the 45 mil again. Fired 2 HE rounds down here. Got another 6, and then Vin finally rolled a 6, so I wasn't able to pin these guys from the cover that he's behind over there. So that was pretty huge for him. I ended up taking 2 shots. Well, 1 shot I failed to observe on the other one, and failed to hit that T-34. Running a little bit low on the ammo on that tank over there, but I'm still okay for a couple more turns. Movement-wise, I had those 2 infantry teams on that back hill. Well, 1 infantry team on that back hill. Pushed him up over there to kind of get us a little more support in the middle of the table. And then these guys that were there, I started to push them up along the flank over here to hopefully start making a play on maybe that objective. I also pulled another chit at the end of my turn. Of course, I rolled a 1 to unpin my units, so I decided to just unpin the KV-1A back there. So that's everything that happened here for the bottom of turn 7. Coming back in a second for top of turn 8. We're going to roll to see if Vin gets that plane to come back in, so we'll be back in a flash. We are back for top of turn 8. Things going pretty decent for Vin, not too bad. Vin ended up getting the plane in again. He got another Falkenwolf. He rolled a 6 to choose, and then he got the one with 9, was it 9 small bombs or 8 small bombs? 8 small bombs or something, yeah. So he ended up bringing the plane in first. Dropped 3 of them right here. It was enough to, no direct hits, but enough to kind of pin everybody. Failed to pin my tank. His other option was over here. They were already pinned, didn't matter. And then back there, he just double pinned me. No damage done. So that's what happened with the first 3 bombs from there. How many orders do you have?
8.
8 orders. Yeah. So then Vin continued to push up all of his infantry along this fence line here to make an aggressive push over there. He has the 1 rifle team that moved a little bit closer down here. That's what happened with movement for those units, no firing from those guys. And then the Panzer IV, they pushed down over here and popped a shot down there, but failed to hit. And then with the machine gun team that was in here, Vin was actually able to pluck off 2 more guys down there. Passed my motivation, but they are still pinned. So that's what we're looking at here. Vin pulled another chit to unpin his units, unpinned everybody on the table, and of course Vin pulled a 1. I have an unreliable tank there in the KV-1, so on the dice roll, Vin ended up immobilizing the KV-1. Man, Vin, you had like 4 or 5 special chits come out this game instead of pulling motivation.
Yep.
Pretty huge keeping Vin alive in the game. So we'll be back a second for bottom of turn 8 for the Soviets. We went from a sure thing as starting to get a little bit more gray. So we'll see how this thing plays out in a second. We'll be back in a flash. Bottom of turn 8 for the Reds. So we are back for bottom of turn 8 for the Soviets. Pretty good turn in the start of it, and then things kind of tapered off toward the end. So I ended up getting 9 orders. I ended up dropping another bombardment. I haven't failed a comms test yet. I had one that landed over here. It scattered to here. It was enough to get the machine gun team in here, the rifle team here, command team there, and then the other rifle team in there were the 4 closest. I ended up rolling 2 6s, which was enough to eradicate 2 units with the amount of wounds that I rolled. Ended up failing a couple saves, lost 2 of those, pinned another one, and then those guys were okay. So Vin had to pull 2 chits. Of course, Vin pulled a breakdown chit with one of those.
Rolled a 6 again.
And rolled a 6, so I lost another T-34. This is absolutely unbelievable. So that ended up happening. Then was another one. These guys finally were able to open up. I killed these guys to a man with machine gun fire, the command team that was left over here. And then I failed to observe the guys that were in here with that one. With the KV-1, I tried to fire downrange. I was unable to hit on either one of those, but the 45 has been gold. The 45 fired 2 HE rounds, rolled 2 6s. I was able to pin Vin over here with the Panzer IV again. I don't understand it. This has been like the luckiest dice I've had with a field gun in a long time. Up over here, I attempted to, I moved that rifle team up to the fence line here to give them a little bit of soft cover and obscure them. I fired into the house over here for some pinning, and I ended up getting the pin success, but Vin ended up passing his 4-up save to keep those guys in the fight. And then down here with these guys, I just pushed them up to the back of the tank over there to kind of hold the line over there and at least keep some pressure on this objective. So Vin has to keep these guys back here on this side. I don't know how much Vin got left as far as battle rating goes, but the way he's pulling chits out, he probably can play another 3 or 4 hours with the amount of event chits that keep coming out of his hand. It's absolutely ridiculous. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 9 for the Germans and see how things go. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 9. Germans hanging on by a thread. So for this turn, Vin brought in the Focke-Wulf, dropped 5 small bombs right here, rolled a 6 for the scatter, so it only went 4 inches when Vin ended up doing it, dropped it here. 5 bombs dropped, 5 pins came up, failed to pin both of my tanks, pinned my infantry, pinned his own infantry, and those guys, they didn't get anything because Vin rolled a 1 to get them pinned. So 2 infantry units pinned by the 5 bombs that dropped. The 2 machine gun teams that were over there moved into this hut. One failed to observe the field guns down there, and the second one opened up fire down here and plucked out another guy, but I passed my motivation to stay on, but they only got 2 bodies left in there. Over here, the infantry team that was on that objective, Vin pushed them up to the back side of the house over there, took a gamble, tried to fire down here, but failed to observe on the move, so that was pretty huge right there. So we're back in a second for bottom of turn 9 for the Reds. Let's see if we can mop up right here. So we'll be back in a flash. Bottom turn 9.
What does that read?
We are back for bottom turn 9 for the Reds. This turn, I ended up getting 7 orders. And of course, it just happened again. So with these guys down here, opened up machine gun fire, open fire order. I was able to range in twice. I was able to kill Vin's unit. Vin pulled a chit. Vin pulled a 1.
Yeah.
So he got to play on my unreliable tank once again and dodged a bullet there. So my KV-1 has 2 blown tracks on it for some reason. I got some really bad mechanics over there. They can't seem to fix anything, just keep breaking stuff. So Vin stayed alive with that. Next move, next order I had my T-34 that was sitting there. I just pushed him up over to take this objective to force Vin to pull a chit because nobody's left over here after those guys were killed. Vin pulled a chit, pulled a 3, and that was enough to end the game right there. So it was a good game against Vin. Dude, those chits to stay alive, man. I had a 15. Yeah, I had 15 points left, but as far as like an active force go, yeah, I was hurting pretty bad. The artillery and the field guns was kind of the bulk of what I had left. I still had those 2 tanks, but you know, the way Vin was rolling dice, who knows how long those things were going to last as far as the chits you were pulling. Oh, it's 2 tanks to chits. So we'll be back in a second to go over the end of game recap and kind of go over how this one went and the ebb and flow of the game. So we'll be back in a flash. All right, so we're back for the end of game recap. This one went 9 turns. This is actually a really fun game. This one, even though it was like a 15-point swing for battle rating, the amount of stuff that Vin was pulling out for the air, he had 2 airstrikes come in that he had with the Falcon Wolves, which was huge. Mine strike, breakdown. You had 3 breakdowns, didn't you? You had the breakdown chit, and then you had 2 ones that you pulled.
Yeah.
So Vin had like 6 or 7 chits that he pulled out that I ended up just eaten. Like it was relentless, man. It was bad news. But
my dice came out during the chits.
Yeah. When those chits dropped, yeah, it was all 6s and 5s. Like it was everything that you could ask for, and it, like I said, it kept the game interesting for the second half for sure. I guess I'll start on my end as far as like what I was thinking here. So since obviously I didn't bring any recce, which is this is the first game I didn't bring any recce, and it didn't play out as bad as I thought it could have because Vin really only brought a sniper, so I didn't really have to pay for it as much as far as positioning goes. But my plan was to, like I said, get my artillery on the backside over here, get a spotter up on this hill because he had a pretty good lane as far as view goes across the table over there. And then with that as my kind of anchor for support fire, really try to get a hold of this town right here and then use it as a fire base to eventually push into the train station here and make a push on this side of the tracks over here, which kind of worked out. It would have worked out a lot better if Vin wasn't immobilizing tanks left and right and blowing them up with like mine strikes and all sorts of crazy stuff. As Vin started bringing guys on, I knew his infantry didn't have any anti-tank assets as far as Shreks, Fausts, or anything there. So I was able to play a little bit more aggressive with my T-34s and get them up. And since the Stugs don't have a turret, I knew I outnumbered his tanks, so I was going to try to kind of play cat and mouse and give him some bait as far as one tank to push up to kind of get flanking shots on his other tanks. And that worked really well down here. I did lose my command tank, which really wasn't worth it as far as the trade-off goes. And then this tank over here, they landed the kill shot down there, but then the mine strike took him out. And on this flank over here, immobilizing that Stug kind of opened things up for him because Vin couldn't really get a shot off with that Stug to hit that T-34, so it took him out. So on the flanks, the tanks did really well as far as containing the Stug attack, which is what I wanted. And then the infantry, obviously making a push through the village and then getting around in here. It took 9 turns to get there, but they eventually did get there and it worked out. MVP for my list today, I would have said it was the T-34s until I kept losing them to all sorts of crazy nonsense that was just playing all over the place. But if it wasn't them, it was definitely the 122s. The amount of damage that they did, and not just pinning wise. I mean, I must have rolled like 4 or 5 6s throughout the game.
Easily.
Yeah, plucking you. I mean, I killed the sniper team back over there. I think I killed like 3 rifle teams in this alleyway throughout the course of the game, as well as keeping guys pinned. They did really well. I didn't fail one comms test in 9 turns or 8 rolls. That's right, because I didn't roll with them in the last turn. So yeah, so I passed 8 comm tests in a row with these guys up here. So that combination right there, as far as the platoon command and the 2 guns spotting, that group of 3 right there. They paid off every round. I don't know, Vin, what were you think as far as your battle plan and trying to make a push and take me off the table?
Well, the battle plan failed instantly, but it was still super fun. Like the way things kind of ended up playing out anyway. Because like even with the airstrikes, it was still felt like the plan was going, even though I didn't have my tanks.
Oh yeah, once you got once you got to the middle of the game.
Yeah, so like my whole plan originally was have my Stugs pretty much hold here and over here.
The flanks.
The flanks, not pushing in, just holding the middle, and then have the other 2 kind of come in like at a other angle. So you had just all 4 front points.
Yeah, huh?
And then just rush all my infantry into the middle and just kind of do a whole like cockroach, like
Just play build in the building, like
Yeah, just like-
yeah, like almost like an urban fight.
yeah, just like harass everybody in the middle, which I'm sure everybody knows that's what I was trying to do when I was getting everybody up there. So the only places I had my troops were just coming from that side and here, and they were just gonna sweep.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get like that. I thought that was going to be a kill zone, but I wasn't able to get anything up there fast enough. Because like I said, you immobilized and pinned so much stuff in the middle
Yeah.
that I wasn't able to get anything up there to really capitalize on you going across open ground over there. And then this was kind of lightly defended, so my counter to that was bring my infantry around. But like I said, I wish I would have had at least one more asset over there to kind of do some damage over there and take the advantage that you had with that infantry rush going up the table. That it could have been big if things went a little bit differently as far as dice rolls went.
Yeah. And I would say MVP for you was the guy in the back.
Yeah, that 45, man, absolutely worthless as far as like doing damage on the tank.
Wait.
I pinned him 3 turns in a row. Like,
Oh yeah, that killed me.
yeah, that was huge. That was huge.
'Cause I could have moved my final tank for the entire rest of the game.
Yeah, it was like
ugh.
3 out of 4 turns in a row. I had that Panzer IV pinned, and then like the one time that I didn't get him pinned, you it's because you passed your save. So
passed
yeah,
the save, and I was trying to get back out to the middle. I was trying to get to here.
oh yeah.
So you would have had to have at least moved.
And commit tanks. Yeah, it was it was a fun game. Like I said, the planes and bombardments that you had, if you would have just had one direct hit, you would have been good. You didn't get one direct hit. It was all pins, wasn't it?
Yeah, everything was a pin.
Everything was
like
a pin.
15
No
was.
sixes from and you threw 5, 8, 13. So you threw roughly what, like 15
Yeah.
yeah, about over 15 dice between all your bombardments and plane bombs.
Yeah.
And you didn't get 1
Not a
6.
single one.
Everything was just pins in the middle here.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 20 when I think about it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess
Like
19,
19,
yeah,
19.
because with the Nebelwerfer bombardment and then the railgun. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Like I said, just rolling the dice end, it was a lot of fun. And then watching
very
Vin pull
funny.
those chits.
It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining. Like I said, we only played 400 points for this game, so it was a little bit lower. That's because we hadn't played in a while, so I figured we'd just keep the points low and kind of just mess around and do like a little quick scenario. Next game we play, we'll probably bump the points up a little bit. What were you thinking of them?
And there's one thing I would say to anybody that does want to play the game, it is a lot of fun to have artillery. Like, it makes such a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
in the best possible way.
Yeah, absolutely. If at least take a medium mortar,
Yeah.
out of your infantry selection. Just having one mortar there, not so much to do damage, but to just pin and
Harass.
Yeah, just harass your enemy. Yeah, it's worth taking one. 'Cause, I mean, you didn't take one, and it was.
And we talked about it before the game even started. I was just
Yeah,
like, oh,
you
it's
didn't
so-
take it,
so-
and it does make a difference because all the pinning that you're doing at that point is either small arms fire or HE rounds, and it's just not as effective as those mortars. But like I said,
Because the time ones are gamble.
yeah. Just if somebody falls into that bubble, it works out, and if they don't, then it's not points wasted, but like it kind of
Yeah.
is. But it's only 10 points. It's not that big of a deal.
It's 30 for the big gun.
Oh, it was 30
Yeah.
railgun. Yeah, okay. So maybe that was wasted, but that if that hits, that's devastating. But yeah, so like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next battle report, I think we're going to start pushing into doing some Overlord and Market Guard, and I actually have all my paratroopers pretty much done here. I'll pull over so you guys can kind of see. I got one paratrooper platoon done. All I got to do is a 6-pounder and a sniper and some other stuff. So that might be the next battle report you guys see, is some paratroopers from Market Garden. If not, it'll be within like the month. So like I said, hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Another thing too, like I said, we just started up that Facebook page, so we usually post up on there, just like talking tactics and stuff like that, just random Facebook stuff. I know Piers jumps on there from Battlegroup as well, so if you guys want to ask him some questions, it's a good place to go as well. So, you know, sign up for that if you guys are on Facebook. It's just the acceptable casualties. You throw it in the search and it'll come up. So, you know, hope you guys enjoyed what you guys saw today, and we'll catch you guys later.